Hey everyone, Nat Daddy here with the weekly reviews of what I thought was worth reading this week for January 8th. I got 10 books here. Let's jump right into it. We got some DC books, we got some Omni books, American mythology, some Image Skybound, Dark Horse, a little bit of everything here. So, again, let's start off with Absolute Batman. Much like most people, I'm really enjoying this series. We're at issue 4 already. This one is more of a goes more into his origins in that, shows him as a kid and the relationship he had with his dad. We find out his dad was a teacher in this world and not a doctor, so that's a little different. We also show him where he's just starting off as Batman and some of his earlier versions of it. We can kind of see where he takes on a little bit more of a bat persona, and he even has a gun at that point. So he goes through a little bit of trial error and realizes he doesn't like that, it's not working. So goes back to the drawing board, keeps working at it, and slowly becomes the absolute Batman that we see at current time in the series. So that's pretty good. Really enjoying the artwork in this series too. Kind of has that gritty feel for a gritty series, and this him as a childhood stuff is pretty neat as well too, to see how they've changed some of that here and there. So really enjoying this so far, and much like the rest of you, we have the first issue from the new Aquaman series. I didn't know what to expect from this. I'm not a huge Aquaman fan, but this seemed to be all right. It made me want to read more here. It has all the current stuff that's leading into it. You don't have to be reading everything to get caught up to this point. It is a good jumping off point. You have him fighting monsters. He's back as the king of Atlantis again, so he's dealing with that, as well as being a hero as well on the surface. He does have these water telekinetic powers now, which I believe he has gotten from Mira. She used to have them, and I guess her powers were taken during that Amanda Waller war, when the Amazos probably took her power, and then when they came back, much like a few other heroes, they got mixed up and her powers didn't return to her. So it seems like maybe he has them now. I have to look into that a little bit more. And what happens in here is, as he's fighting a big water monster, Atlantis there comes with a contact with this magical pearl that seems to teleport everybody away in that. And yeah, he takes it to the Justice League and starts investigating a little bit more. And it turns out that this key, or this pearl, is like a key to a dimensional gate. And he ends up using it and going through, and the dimensional gate is an omega sign there, which we all know usually leads to a dark side on that. So with Darkseid being dead, we don't really know what's going on there. So good jumping off point, good kind of cliffhanger to make you want to read the next issue in the series, which I will definitely be checking out. Also from DC this week, we got the issue 2 in this Batman Dark Patterns limited series. This does not take in part in continuity. This is kind of like an Elseworld story. It has great artwork in here by Haywood Sherman. I enjoy that artwork quite a bit. It's about Batman earlier in his career, and he's tracking down this serial killer that goes by the Wounded Man. And it's a guy that has self-inflicted wounds all over his body and that. So kind of a creepy dude. You can't really fight him because, again, he has all these things protruding from him as well. So not only are they going to injure you, but they'll injure him as well too. They're strategically placed on his body so that if you do hit them or try to remove them or interact with them, and that it will kill him because his proximity to nerves and veins and stuff like that. So Batman is dealing with him and trying to not just solve the case of the serial killer, but help him out as well too. So really enjoying that so far. Like I said, I do enjoy the creepy artwork that is going along with this story, so do check it out. From Oni, we got another one of their EC anthology series that's starting up. This time it's Swords and Fantasy. Then we got Cruel Kingdom in here. 4 stories. I really enjoyed the first one here. It's kind of like a kingdom that always keeps reactivating this magical robot slayer that it has to do all its dirty work so its hand stays clean and in front of the Lord and that. So of course that backfires on them as well. So this is definitely has like that old EC horror feel to it with the swords and sorcery and fantasy theme. So really enjoying this. Been enjoying all these only EC reboots in that, and this one is no different. So definitely check this one out. This one here is about space aliens invading a planet at during this like kind of swords and sorcery time. So lots of fun there. I do highly suggest that if you're a fan of anthologies and the old EC horror stuff. New book from Marvel this week. We have the new version of the Champions. We got a young hero team. I must admit I wasn't looking forward to this. I'm not a huge fan of most of these young teen books, but for this one, I was reading it and I really quite enjoyed it. It kind of gives me feels of the original kind of old Teen Titan stuff. We got a bunch of young heroes that have banded together for... at one point, a few of these people were that team called the Assembly that were around last year in some of the Marvel titles, especially the Spider-Woman one. And now they've decided to call themselves the Champions. And in this story here, unintentionally, it's almost like a big recruitment drive because one of the heroes here ends up casting a spell during a moment of trouble, and it ends up calling not just her friends that she knows, it calls like a bunch of all the current young heroes. So during this, she ends up doing this by accident, and you get a bunch of these new young heroes that I'm sure most of us aren't familiar with because they've been barely mentioned in other books, and also some of them have also just had like cameo appearances just being on the covers of some books last summer and that. So we'll see where that goes. But interesting, I enjoyed this so far. So my pick of the week, especially cover-wise, is The Return of the Living Dead from American Mythology Productions. I am a fan of the 80s horror stuff, especially all the old Walking Dead and Living Dead movies. This is an adaptation of The Return of the Living Dead from the summer of '86, and it has that great Mark Spears horror cover, which has been super popular lately with a few different books. This, The Monsters. He has work being published in a lot of the ratio variants of the DC stuff lately, not horror, but of the heroes. So this one as well, being only a week old, is already on the trending list. It's going for higher than cover price, so hopefully you were able to get one at cover price. And this is, like I said, a story about young teens and people setting loose these living deads and that having to deal with it. It's in an amusement park this time, and it has that trope of young teens doing no bad things and no drugs and alcohol and sex and that, and then having to deal with monsters that come from that. So it does have that kind of Scooby-Doo art feel to it. So a bunch of young people dealing with monsters, but it is definitely not Scooby-Doo because there's a lot of death, there's a lot of sex innuendos in here, and language issues, and also zombie gore. So lots of fun. If you enjoy that stuff, you will definitely enjoy this one. And again, a lot of people are picking it up just because of that great Mark Spears cover. So I must admit I have a couple of them. So from Image, another one that was a lot of people were looking forward to is the first issue of this Lucky Devil series. This is the team that brought us 8 Billion Genies last year. This is kind of similar in the sense it's dealing with these little magical creatures in that. This time it's not genies, they're devils, much like how people have like guardian angels. Everyone has a devil assigned to them, and there's all different levels of these devils depending on who you are in that. So this story focuses on two people, one being this dude and then one being this woman, who are always kind of getting crapped on. Their life is always crappy, but they don't really ever do anything mean or vicious in return about it. So they're always getting taken advantage of and that. So we find out that their two demons are sick and tired of that, and they're deciding to take it more into their hands, and they're going to introduce themselves to their people, I guess the people that they're supposed to be influencing that, and tell them to about everything, and they're going to ramp it up there and make their lives better by being more evil, and also making their own demon lives better by going up higher up the hierarchy of demons by causing all these shenanigans and that. So pretty fun. I really like the artwork in that here, so we'll see where it goes. This will definitely get turned into a TV series or something like that at some point. So from Dark Horse, we have a new series called Those Not Afraid. We got a couple of serial killers here, those being them on the back here. They're two guys that work separately from each other, but have recently discovered that they are going to be, one of them, if not both of them, will eventually be breaking the record of serial kills by one person in this state, which I believe is California. So so the one guy in there, the blonde guy on the left, introduces himself to the other guy and says, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but this record is about to be broken, and he decides to challenge him to make it a contest to see who can get the most in the end. So then they start kind of popping up in each other's lives. So interesting story here so far. The woman on the center of the cover there, she hosts a podcast that is talking about these two killers as well. So we'll see where it goes from there. But creepy artwork in here. I definitely like this. If you are a fan of serial killer stuff or like Dexter and that, this is definitely going to be kind of right up your alley. So lots of fun there. This is called Those Not Afraid from Dark Horse. From Image Skybound, we have the next issue, which is 16 of Transformers. As usual, this book is killing it. Every issue is great. People are just loving on this book so much, and I am one of them as well. I really like the artwork in here. Daniel Warren Johnson's putting together an amazing story. We have 3 different things going on here. We have Autobots and Decepticons having stuff going on Cybertron and on Earth. It's not just Decepticons versus Autobots. We have fighting within the Decepticons as well too. We have big giant ones like Devastator and Bruticus fighting at a dam. Lots of crazy stuff going on. You got Astrotrain fighting against Starscream and Soundwave. So much action always happening in these books here. And then towards the end of the book here too, we find out that they kind of reintroduced Megatron back here. We saw him in the Cobra Commander series, where he was being used and experimented on for weapons technology and that. And then we find he escaped in there, and now we find here that he is back. He has called upon Laserbeak here, and is now cannibalizing him and using him to be his eyes, because in his experiments he lost his eyes. So that's kind of gross and creepy, but that's some of the neat darker twists that have been happening to this current update, which makes it great and amazing. So, and lastly, we have from Dark Horse Comics, which they had a lot of great books this week. We have issue 2 of Welcome to Maynard. I like this book. It has that kind of Bruce Timm art feel to it. Makes me think of the Batman animated series, especially the comic book version of that. This is about a woman, I believe her name is Pip, and it's she has started a job at the Maynard, which is a magical hotel which caters to magical users. So she's there, started as a bellhop, and she has been noticing and on the trail of a cat burglar type person who's stealing magic objects, especially from the hotel. We find out in this issue not only is she working as a bellhop there, but she's actually starting off her new job as being kind of an assistant and learning to be a detective for the hotels, whereas so she's undercover in this role, interacting with these people who, again, like I said, are all magic users. And as she has to, again, keep her eye out and try to figure out the mystery of this magical cat burglar as well. And interacting in her own normal life where she has to keep all of this secret. So, like I said, lots of fun here. If you're a fan of like Harry Potter and stuff like that, this would probably be right up your alley. But yeah, I really like this a lot. Lots of fun here. And like I said, it does have that Bruce Timm art feel to it. And there's that kind of magical cat burglar there. So that is Welcome to Maynard. All right, everybody, that is what I read this week, and I thought you should check out. Let me know if you found other things that you thought were better. I did read almost everything, but I just thought these were the ones that were worth most showing. Hope you enjoyed your week of books. We'll see you next time.